So yeah, I kind of hacked my way in here. You know, it's not, this is about a 15,000 pound machine. It's getting a little tighter. There it is. Ha, yeah. Well, this old girl is just sitting here idling away. All right, we are back on the Massey, and the big thing today is to get the hydraulic pump hooked to the motor. So I can't really show you very well, but that square should be bolted to that pulley. And right above my finger you can see the welding that somebody did trying to weld that block to the pulley, and it did not blast because welding is not designed for that kind of a load. And so the plan is, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the radiator, and that should, and I'll probably take the fan off. So the radiator's here, fan's here. If I take both of those off, I should be able to get in there enough through this front area here. So right in this area will be open, and I'll be able to see what I'm doing right there. So I believe there's some broken bolts on the pulley that's attached to the crank, and that is why this hydraulic pump right here is not attached to the motor currently, and that's why I don't have any hydraulics. So let's get some coolant drained out of this thing and pull that radiator out and go from there. Sometimes these hose clamps, the screw actually comes all the way out of them, and obviously at that point they're junk. You just need to replace them. But that's what's happening with this one. Come on. Yeah, I know, I need to clean it up. Come on now. Oh, there's a little drain valve on the bottom there that I keep getting caught on. Alright, now we can see a little bit better. Alright, we're going to zip this fan off real quick. Guess the whole pulley assembly comes at the same time. Alright, we're trying to get way down there. Alright, I think I can get this bracket out now. Alright, well now we got a little more room to work down there. So this is the hydraulic pump here. And the shaft goes right underneath this and comes out right there. Now this shaft is threaded into this square block. There's 4 holes on it, and those 4 holes bolt into 4 holes on this pulley here. Right there is a broken bolt in one of them. And I can't see the rest of them right now. So this should be all the way forward like that and bolted onto the pulley. So I can't really get a whole lot of access at it right now. We're definitely going to have to get it off to get the bolts out or figure a different solution out. But to do that, so I have to disconnect this line here, and then there's 2 bolts holding the pump onto the tractor, and we'll pull that out. It should leave the shaft in there, and we should be able to unthread it off that block, which will give us access to pretty much all the parts. So we're going to start by cracking this, getting the hydraulics disconnected from the pump, and go from there. Alright, we got these 2 bolts holding the pump to this piece of the frame. And thank you to whatever mechanic put anti-seize on that bolt. There's our hydraulic pump, and it does spline into that shaft right there. You can see right here, this is quite possibly the reason this thing was parked. It sheared off these 4 bolts that would have been bolting this square adapter plate to the pulley that's attached to the crankshaft. And so I'm betting I'm going to find at least 3 broken bolts in this pulley. Here's one end of one of them. Now I need to unthread this from here. And is it loose? It might already be loose. How cool would it be if that was already loose? It is. It's loose. Sweet. Wrong way. Bingo. There's our plate. And it looks like, obviously the welding will be on the back, but that looks like the recessed side. So you got this recessed side that goes against the motor, and this flat side comes towards the front where the pump is. And here's the shaft. So you got threads on that end, splines on this end. And the splines fit right onto the pump like that. Yep, just as I thought. 1 broken bolt, 2 broken bolts, 3 broken bolts down there, and that one looks pretty wallowed out. Well, I've got one of 2 options here. One of them is to pull that pulley off and try my hardest to get them out and get those threads usable again. That's going to be the more difficult option. I'll show you the other one. So this is a Perkins 236. The other motor is a 248. But they share the same identical pulley on the crank. And this one has no need for those 4 holes because there is no pump back here. So the plan is going to be to remove this belt, take this pulley off, put this pulley on the backhoe, and put the backhoe's pulley on this one, and we'll clean it up a little bit, get some of the welding off of it, and maybe even if there's one bolt missing, fill that and break it off inside there so that it's evenly weighted. But yeah, I think that the better option is this is a much better pulley, and I need those holes, and those holes are pretty much virgin holes, never been used. I did run a tap through one of them, and the threads are perfect, and they're a fine thread, which I don't know if it's different on the other one, but I found a coarse thread bolt that was broken off into it, so that might be part of the problem. But a fine thread is much better for situations where you don't want it backing out, because there's a lot more threads, has to make a lot more rotations before it can back out and cause a problem. So let's get a big socket and get to changing pulleys. Alright, it's an 1.5 inch socket, and so the only real way I can get to it is I'm going to go through that hole, and I've got pretty sizable 3/4 inch drive extension. I think we're going to get rid of one of those. And we're going to see if we can get it to bust loose. We got it. I'm hoping this will come off easy. Probably won't though. Oh yeah, it's coming. Sweet. There we go. There's our pulley. Let's see. Broken, and not really in good shape. Alright, so I can't quite get an impact in there. I'd have to remove, I don't even know if this shroud comes off, but for the radiator. So instead what I've done is I've got a 1.5 inch socket on 3/4 inch drive ratchet. I threaded a bolt into one of the holes, and I cut a piece of square tubing to length to hold that. What I'm doing here is I'm basically creating a way to keep this pulley from spinning, because if I crank this over slowly, you just turn the whole crankshaft in the engine and you don't end up getting force put directly on the bolt that's holding this pulley here. So to get around that, I'm using one of the bolt holes, and we're just going to pray that we don't snap it off or break something else. But I don't think it will. I am going to go get a really long cheater bar, and basically what that'll do is it'll allow me to give very little force and very controlled, so that it just breaks free nice and easy and not too difficult. And sometimes it's not about the force you're giving it, but how easy that force allows you to break something free without having it damage other things, like snap off this bolt, break this piece of square tubing, or whatever, you know. So I'm gonna get set up and we're gonna get this out. All right, there's our bar. All right, now we're just gonna real gently give it some force. Flexing the motor some. There we go. our pulley. Alright, here's the one off of the backhoe. And here's the one off of forklift. Same splines inside. Same 4 bolt holes. And this saves me the time of having to remove these 3 broken bolts and figure out how to deal with that. And I'd probably have to run a tap through that one. This one looks like the threads in there are coarse threaded. And this one here, I ran a tap through that one, but even these other ones that have dirt in them, they look like they are fine threaded. Alright, so let's take this before we go any further and compare it. See if our holes line up. Man, they don't. Am I doing this the wrong way? Shoot. Do these line up? Yeah, they do. Alright, well, all that work was for nothing, because we cannot use this pulley because I think it's slightly skinnier on this dimension. These ones are wider, so it is definitely not going to work. And technically there's this step in it too, which I didn't notice. That was a good thought. I think for every other reason this they're swappable, but we're gonna have to go back to resorting to get these broken bolts out, get all this slag off. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back together on the forklift machine so I don't have to worry about dealing with that later. See if we can just break some of this weld off. Alright, we're going to do my favorite method of bolt extraction, which is essentially to drill a hole and tap a torque bit into it. So you start off by as closely centering a hole punch as you can for a center punch. Now you want to find a bit that is smaller than the torque bit you're going to use. A little cutting lubricant helps keep the blade cool. And you don't always get a chance to go all the way through, but in this one, I was able to. Find your torque bit and get it in there. Kind of pound it in. Alright, now that you have the bit hammered into the broken screw or bolt, you very gently start putting some tension on it, and there it goes. And now we have one removed. Boom. So, got 2 open holes now, 2 more to go. So these 4 bolts that are going to go through this plate here are going to be going in with some red Loctite, because I really don't want them backing out. And seeing as though this is already an issue previous to me owning it, figured minimize the chance of it happening again. Looks like I'm gonna have to tighten these 2 and then somehow turn the motor over to tighten the next 2. Turn the motor over one more time. Get that 4th bolt in. Come on. There we go. There we go. And I think that first bolt, which is right here, I don't think I got it quite tight. There we go. How many Ugga-Duggas? As many as I can give it. Okay. Alright. Alright, now we're going to slide the shaft in here. And this goes counterclockwise. Alright, boom! Now we gotta hook up the pump and put it all back together. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how that's supposed to be put together. Not that nasty ass welding. Nice and solid, all 4 bolts in the pulley. I used longer bolts than the original because I noticed when I took out the broken ones, they only went in like 2 or 3 threads. I went all the way to the back, as far as I could get, and I used high-end, high-quality bolts. Loctite them in there, it ought to be fine. So I guess now we'll get the pump put back on and we'll get it all fired up and figure out what other problems we find. That's how it goes. But you can't fix the other problems until you fix the problem before it. And that's kind of the process with any old machine. Alright, well, we got the pump back in, all hooked up on both sides, and all hooked up to the motor now. Heck yes. So I wanted to get the rest of the radiator put in tonight, but it's raining on me, and I got a temporary little work cover here. Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to get something done, and I did not want water in the hydraulics, so I got the pump and got all the hydraulics buttoned up. I will deal with the coolant and finishing all that back up tomorrow. So yeah. So last night it definitely started raining on me, and I wanted to get the hydraulics closed up, and this was my little makeshift HUD, just a 4x8 sheet of PVC plastic. It does have some drill holes in it from whenever it was mounted. It was a bench off something that I got a long time ago. I use it for all kinds of stuff, but it did a great job keeping me dry. We're gonna yank that off, and let's get the radiator put back in. All right, there you can see it. We got the crank pulley all cleaned up. Got that block all cleaned up as well. 4 new bolts Loctited straight into there. So now the hydraulic system, the hydraulic pump, is directly attached to the engine, and that will turn the pump, creating pressure so that we are able to run the bucket and the backhoe. Awesome. I am so pumped that it was just a simple fix. No parts needed other than the 4 bolts that I already had. So yeah, cool. All right, while I have this out, I'm gonna flush it a little bit. Actually, it's pretty clean. I thought there was going to be more dirt than that. And I know that's not a comprehensive flush, and I know I need to do it when the engine's warm and on the machine, but this is one of those things that you just do because you see a little dirt in there and you want to get it out. Because this will not hurt anything. Well, the water's coming out clean. Good enough for me. This overflow tube has seen better days. It's starting to crack. I'm gonna yank it off and get a different one. We'll come back to that. Alright, now let's drop the radiator in. Alright, radiator's in. I actually installed so this elbow was never on the machine when I found it. It was just sitting in the weeds. So this is the air intake elbow. This is the air filter assembly, which I haven't even opened yet. We still have yet to put coolant in it. I gotta get another overflow tube. But for now, we're gonna open up this filter and see what it looks like. Nasty. Got some bugs in there. Pretty standard canister style though. Doesn't look too bad. Alright, so on the side of the machine there's basically it looks like this. It's the hydraulic oil check. You know, basically it shows you how much is in there. Well, a lot of times what happens is weather starts to make it look like this, and then you can't really see very well. So one thing you can do if it's this style, so this top and bottom have O-rings, and inside it is usually a little piece of plastic that gives you the line. That's the hydraulic oil line. So what I did is I flipped it over so that the inside is facing out now. The inside is clear and can be seen, and cleaned up these top and bottom pieces. The O-rings sometimes need to be replaced. These ones are sealing fine. So So then this sits like this. A little O-ring goes here. Another one goes there. And then these bolts have a hole in them here and here. So once they're threaded in, oil will feed in the hole and then up through the vial and then back to the other side too. Behind there, this rubber washer seals against the machine. And so I basically took it apart, cleaned it up, and now we're going to throw it back on. There. Now it's a readable gauge that will show hydraulic fluid, and then that black line is the line that we're shooting for as far as how much we need in it. This machine had almost no hydraulic fluid in it when I got up to it because of this line being cut. So now we're going to put some coolant in it and hydraulic fluid, and hopefully we have hydraulics. Heck yeah, I'm excited about this part. Well, we are definitely at the top of the reservoir there. So what we're going to do is once we get it running, we'll run it for a while, then we'll stop and check it after it's basically been pumped through the system. Well, it must have a heck of a lot more fluid in there than I thought. I seriously thought we were about empty. It's over the line now. Huh. I thought, man, I mean, whatever saves me some money. Because I bought 4 5-gallon buckets, about 20 gallons of fluid. And I had these 2.5 gallon juggers. And it just needed like 2.5 gallons. Maybe even less. And as you can see in the gauge here, this is the line you should be at. We're past it. But, oh well. Figure it out. Once it gets all the air bubbles out of everywhere, we might be less than what we need. So, all right, let's fire it up and see if we've got hydraulics. Here. That cylinder's leaking pretty good right there. This one might just be loose. All right, as you can see, most of the backhoe arm cylinders are in need of rebuild. This one definitely is leaking. This one's leaking pretty bad. This one seems okay for now. That tilt cylinder, or that side shift cylinder's leaking. Well, it's official. We have hydraulics. Yes! Downside is, pretty much every cylinder on the backhoe needs to be rebuilt. So, this one is leaking there. That's your bucket cylinder. This one is leaking right up there. That's your scoop. This one may not be leaking. So this is your reach cylinder, and then it pulls the arm back. That one's definitely leaking there. Not as bad as that one over there. So these are the side to side, basically side shift cylinders. You see that pile there? That's from this outrigger. And you can tell that one's leaking too. That one, for whatever reason, this linkage for that outrigger is not hooked up. So I didn't actually use that one, but you can tell just based on all the crap around it that it's definitely leaking. Now, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cylinders to rebuild there. And there's 4 more. So this cylinder here for the bucket, it's actually dry. The cylinder here for the curl for the bucket is also dry. This one for the curl is dry. This one is a little bit wet. It's not bad, but that one's definitely going to blow out at some point. And then the steering assist cylinder is dry as well. So I don't know if I'm going to rebuild the ones for the bucket. I mean, it might behoove me to do all 7 in the back, and then what's there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here in the front, and just have them all done. I don't know. Sometimes I like to leave well enough alone, and sometimes I would rather have it all done at once. I don't know. It's kind of a balance, because sometimes when I start doing things and fixing things that aren't broken, I end up having problems, causing issues that weren't there. So the leak we did have here was actually this fitting was loose. So it was leaking right in here. Actually, that's from that cylinder there. So yeah, that one definitely has a leak. Not nearly as bad as the backhoe, but this line right there was leaking and had a pretty good sized puddle back there, but I tightened up that fitting, and I remember I loosened it trying to get the bucket to curl and forgot to re-tighten that closed. All right, I am out here with all of my crazy doggies. Come on, guys. So for anyone that doesn't know, I have 6 Weims, and I love them. They're great dogs. All right, so right down here, we're gonna walk over to where I've got the backhoe sitting. Come on. All right. Come on, guys. Hey, dogs. All right, here's the backhoe. That's where I've got it sitting for now. For the time being, I haven't had time to get to the hydraulic cylinders. So the plan is, honestly, to repair all of them. I'm just gonna rebuild all the cylinders, just because then they're done all at one time and it'll be finished. And it's just been too cold since, you know, the weather really changed pretty quickly and got cold and started snowing. So as soon as I get around to having the ability to do those, I'm gonna get the cylinders rebuilt. And then this machine, it needs tires. It needs some electrical gremlins dealt with. I'm gonna replace the seat. All the lights are gonna get replaced. fixed up. We'll do a full service on the engine. And I don't know about paint. We'll see. I want to build, it'll make a grill for it. Kind of repair some of the miscellaneous things. I might even make some engine side covers for it just to protect the engine when it's out working. Make sure the four-wheel drive is working properly. I did already free up this lever, which this lever is what engages and disengages the rear diff lock. So it basically, when you're driving, the two wheels are independent, and when you pull that over and it catches, it makes it so the wheels spin together. It locks the differential in the back so that you have more traction with both wheels going at the same time. That was completely seized up. The cable got all seized. So yeah, I'm totally stoked that we got hydraulics working, and now that they're working, it's just a matter of fixing them. So we'll get to that very soon. But for now, just out taking the dogs for a walk. Good dogs. Come on, guys. Another thing that you will see very soon. And so sitting right near where we got the backhoe, we've got another project you'll see very soon. Many of you may remember the old Gale skid steer we drug out of the woods. So here it sits. The plan is to see what it'll take to get that little Kubota diesel fired up and go from there. But for now, come on guys, we're gonna go for a walk with the dogs. This way, come on. Well, as always, I hope you've truly enjoyed the video and the project here at Salvage Workshop. Come on guys, here. So from me and all my crazy wimes here at Salvage Workshop, we thank you and we hope you have a great one. Take it easy.